All right. Good morning, everyone, or good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you guys so much for joining our webinar today. I'm going to go ahead and get started. And today we're just going to be talking about how you can use one less annoying CRM account to manage multiple businesses. This can also come in handy for folks who need to manage different databases of contacts, but want to be able to see and track them all in one account. So to start off, let's go ahead and get introductions out of the way. Who am I? My name is Eunice, and I'm a CRM coach here at Less Annoying CRM. I've worked with hundreds of businesses to get their CRM account set up and do a bit of sales work for our team here as well. So if you have any questions about that, just feel free to let me know. I'm joined today by my colleague Michael. You guys have been chatting on our chat already, but he's also a CRM coach here, and he'll be around to field questions as we go through this webinar. We want this webinar to be informative and interactive for everyone here. So let's kind of quickly run through how you can ask questions as I go through this webinar. So you can post it in the chat. A lot of you have already started posting in the chat. You're welcome to post a question in that chat section, but you should also see that on the right side of your screen, there is this panel called questions. This is our platform where you can pretty much formally ask a question that we can answer. Anything that you're not sure about, feel free to post it in there. We'll keep track of all of these questions to make sure we have time to tackle them all by the end of this webinar. If you're in that question section and you see that someone's already posted a question that you also have, just go ahead and click on the up arrow to the right of that question to let us know that more than one person has the same query, so we know what's a more popular question that's coming in. So before we dive into the CRM itself, let's just quickly talk about what a CRM is. A CRM stands for Customer Relationship Manager, and it is here to help you keep track of your relationships with your prospects, leads, current clients, and anyone that you work with. It helps you track your relationships with everyone you speak with through detailed notes and logs, and allows you to set up follow-up reminders so that you always know when you need to reach out to someone. So if you've ever been on your way to a meeting, you find yourself having trouble remembering the key details about who you're meeting, this is what a CRM is going to prevent for you. By having your relationships with your contacts in an easy to use interface, Less Annoying CRM can help make sure you never miss another follow-up. So for today's webinar, however, we're going to focus on three main areas. First, and the most straightforward one, how to set up groups in your CRM account to segment out your database into their appropriate categories. Second of all, we'll discuss how to set up your pipelines to track the various processes involved in each of these businesses. And finally, third, we're going to talk about how to track and manage different timelines and schedules that you might need to follow with each business with our new sub-calendar feature. So to start off, we've got groups. This is probably the most intuitive tool to be using when it comes to organizing your database. Groups function as tags or labels, and they allow you to segment your database depending on any kind of characteristic that a list of records may share. The most basic structure you could go with here is to have two groups, one for your first business and another one for your second business, your third business, and so on and so forth. So let me show you what that looks like in your actual CRM account. So what I've got here is just a dummy version of the software here with some test data. And I've got two groups created for myself already. If I go to find a contact on my blue header bar, you can see I've got a group here for ABC business contacts and another group for XYZ business contacts. I can create groups whenever I need to, just through my settings page under the groups option and the second row under customization. I can create as many groups as I want, depending on how I want to segment my contacts. What I want to do now is I want to pull up a list of all my contacts and start adding them to the appropriate groups so that they're all tagged the way I want them to. So I'm just going to go to find a contact again on my blue header bar, select a couple of contacts. So we've got Adam, Daniel, Danielle, and let's say David. I want to add them to ABC Business. So I'm just going to click on Add to a Group at the bottom of my page and to select ABC Business Contacts to attach them to this particular group here. Now I can always access this list just by mousing over Find a Contact here, jump to any of these categories depending on what I want to pull up. And if you have multiple categories within each business, you can break each of these groups down further with just a naming convention. So Less Annoying CRM right now, we don't yet have a feature for creating subgroups. So let's say you've got vendors and some vendors are with ABC, some vendors are with XYZ contacts. What you can do is just tag them appropriately by creating additional groups. So what I have here is I want to create a group for all of my ABC business vendors. what I'll just do is I'm just going to click on create a new group on my manage groups page, call this ABC Business dash vendors, save group, and I'm going to create a second group here for my XYZ business vendors. So XYZ business dash vendors. So this way, I know that all of the contacts in these groups are also involved with a specific business. I can see the ABC business groups will be at the top because I've put ABC business as a prefix to that group name, and XYZ will be right at the bottom. So this way, I can just hop over to each of these groups to pull up the respective list of contacts. And a big thing here to keep in mind is that if you have contacts that are involved in both businesses, for example, you have a vendor that works with both ABC and XYZ business, these contacts can then be placed into both groups so they show up in both lists. So this is a very nice way to just keep things organized, especially if you've got a lot of overlap between your contacts and your leads in the companies that you work with. So now let's say you have multiple users on your account, and some users work with one business and some users work with the other business. The CRM has another tool here called Teams that allows you to make certain groups visible to specific sets of users only. So let's talk through the concept of Teams first before I show you how that works. So this Teams tool is probably a feature that you haven't yet heard of. It's still a bit of a beta feature that has plenty of room to grow, but it's fully functional right now. So currently, you can create a group that's private for yourself, that's only visible to you, or public for the entire account. Teams allows you to have an in-between, for you to share these group tags with specific sets of users, not just yourself or everyone. Keep in mind that this is only about sharing the visibility of the group tag. If a user has access to another user's contacts, they can still see all of those contacts. They just won't see that group tag on those contacts that lets them know that they're in that particular group. And because it's still a bit of a beta feature, you can only access it through the link in this PowerPoint here. I'm going to post the link in the chat now, but once you've accessed this link and created a team in your own CRM account, you'll see a new option on your settings page that says Manage Teams on the right side there, and you can now access your teams from your CRM very quickly on the go without having to go through that link again. So let's actually just talk about how you would make use of this in the CRM. So I'm going to pop back into our demo account here. We've got these groups. You've got ABC groups. You've got XYZ groups. And I've got users. I've got teams of users. Some are involved with ABC. Some are involved in XYZ. To keep things organized for them, I want my ABC users to only see the ABC groups, and I want my XYZ users to only use the XYZ groups. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up teams for them. I'm going to go to settings in my top right corner, click on View All Settings Options, and then click on Manage Teams on the right side under Customization Options. Again, you need to go through the link that I just posted in the chat, create a team before this little box is going to pop up on your own settings page. So on my teams page, I can see that right now I've got one team created, my ABC team. It's got 3 users. It's got me, the owner of the account, because I want to see those groups too. It's got my ABC team member 1 and ABC team member 2. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create another team for my XYZ business. So I'm going to click on Create New Team, XYZ team. That's going to be me, user 1, user 2, both of my XYZ businesses. So I'll save this team and create that in the CRM. And now I've got 2 teams created for myself, ABC and XYZ. The next thing I'm going to do here is start sharing groups with these particular teams. And again, I'm just going to go over to this group page, settings, view all settings options, hop back into groups under customization options, and I'm going to start sharing my groups with them. So now I've got this ABC business vendors group. I'm going to click on manage sharing permissions on the right side underneath this little vendors group here in order to only share this group with my ABC team. Once I click on this option, you will see I have a radio button here that allows me to share this group with a specific team. Since this is with ABC, I'm only going to select ABC team and save these sharing permissions. So now when my ABC team logs in, they will only see these groups relevant to them. They won't see the groups that they don't have access to, that the group tags that they don't have access to. Again, keep in mind, this has nothing to do with contact permission. If someone from ABC team has full access to someone from XYZ team's contacts, they will still see the same contacts. They just won't see this group tag that lets them know that they're involved with the ABC business instead. So, in a scenario where you don't want your users in either businesses to see the contacts involved with your second business, I would recommend using a combination of both user permissions and these team settings here to manage this contact lists for your users. This way, they log in, they only see their contacts, only see their groups, they won't get distracted by any clutter involving your second business. Whereas when you log in, because you've got full access to contacts, full access to these teams, you'll see everything in one place. So this Teams feature can be a little bit tricky since it is new. So if you have any questions about this, again, feel free to post it in the chat, post it in the questions. We're happy to answer anything that you're not sure about. But I'm just going to keep moving along, but don't worry about asking questions later on about something that I've already moved on from. It's all about what you guys want to learn today. So the next thing we're going to be talking about here is what you can use in addition to groups to segment out your database, and that is the CRM's pipeline tool. Pipelines are the software's process tracking tool, and they're intended to allow you to map out whatever workflow you manage in the CRM and walk a contact or company through that workflow until they reach an endpoint. When you're managing different businesses or databases of records, it is likely that you would be going through different workflows with them. Having different pipelines for these different businesses helps ensure that you are tracking your leads for them separately and can keep an accurate log of what you've done with each of them, as well as which business they're involved with. So here in my CRM account, you'll see that I've got multiple pipelines here. I've got pipelines set up for ABC and pipelines for XYZ. So this way, when I go to a contacts page, I can choose to either attach the ABC lead pipeline, the XYZ lead pipeline, or both pipelines to the contact depending on what I'm doing with them. So if, let's say, for example, I go to my contact page and I'm working with Adam today. I'm going to click on Adam, my first contact here, and I want to indicate that Adam is an ABC lead I'm working with. So what I'll just do is I'm going to click on ABC lead on the top left corner, select a status for him. Let's say he's a qualified lead, a high priority qualified lead, and I'll put in some random options here. Check that off. And let's say I quoted him a price of $5,000 for whatever it is that I'm doing for him. I can go ahead now and just click Save ABC Lead, and that lets me know he's a lead I'm working with involving only the ABC company, ABC business that I'm working with Adam. And if he's involved with both businesses, the same way I can have a contact in both groups, I can also have two different pipelines attached to a single contact. So if I'm also working with Adam through XYZ business, but with XYZ he's only a prospect, I can assign him a new status with this XYZ pipeline, call him a prospect. Let's say he's a medium priority prospect. Select whatever I want again, and just hit Save XYZ Lead. This immediately lets me know that Adam is someone who's involved with both of my businesses, but he's in a different status for each of these businesses. I'm doing different things with him. And if I need to store more information about what I'm doing with him with one particular business versus the other, I've got two separate pipelines for me to store that information on. Another key thing about having two different pipelines for two businesses or three for three business, four and so on, is that you end up having separate reports, one for each of the business you're working with. This way you can track revenue streams for each business separately. And if I mouse over pipelines here, I can choose to only see my ABC leads, only choose my XYZ leads, and I can export that out if I need to tally up any numbers for a particular business. If I want to see how XYZ business is doing this month, I can pull up the XYZ report. If I only want to see ABC, I'll pull up the ABC report. But of course, if you would rather have a master report, you could also have the option of having everything in a single pipeline. So you can see here, I've got another pipeline created here called leads. This is a more general overall pipeline. What's important here is that when you have a general overall pipeline, just this lead pipeline that's not segmented by business, you want to make sure you're also using your groups to segment your database, however. This way, in the singular lead report, I can still filter by group to show me everyone in a single business. So I've got one lead report, but if I click on filter by group, select ABC business, hit apply filter, that shows me all the leads I have in this pipeline who are also in the ABC group. So all my ABC leads. The value of having a single report is that I can have a bird's eye view of everything at once. I don't have to go through separate reports. I can just pull up one report, see how I am doing financially for across all of my businesses. I would recommend using either of these options. You want to either go with two pipelines for two businesses or a master pipeline for everything. You shouldn't have a master pipeline and multiple pipelines for your business, just because you end up with a lot of clutter, a lot of data entry. You have to keep attaching multiple pipelines to your contacts, and that could end up taking a bit of your time here. So just to quickly summarize all of this in one place, I'm going to hop back to our PowerPoint. Pipelines essentially are just good companions to groups when it comes to segregating your leads. You can choose to either use multiple pipelines for each business if you want to have multiple reports. And if you'd rather have a single report, you can instead just use one pipeline and filter by your business groups again. And again, as I said earlier, choose one or the other. Don't go with both options, or else you'll just end up with lots of pipelines, and that will end up with a bit of confusion as you keep going on. So now that we've got our contacts and companies segmented out in the system, you need to start managing and tracking your interactions with them in an organized fashion. And this is where sub calendars or multiple calendars can come in handy. Your day to day for each business can either be very different or very similar. And regardless of that, it's useful to be able to separate out your follow ups and meetings that you need to do from one business from the other business. You start your day, you want to focus on one, you want to be able to see all of your events, follow ups, and tasks for one business. You want to work on a different business, you can pull that up very easily too. Every calendar in the CRM comes with a color that is associated with that particular calendar. So all your tasks and events will be in one calendar will be in one color if they're on one calendar, and a different color if they're on a different calendar. So on my main calendar page here, through my blue header bar, you can see I've got 3 calendars set up for myself, and I can see that on the left side of my screen. I've got ABC Business Calendar in blue, I've got XYZ Business Calendar in green, and I've got a personal calendar for myself just for, family meetings and stuff like that in purple. And this way, when I pull up the main calendar, I can see everything is color coded the way I want. I can see, okay, earlier this week, I worked with ABC, I had a personal dinner, I worked with XYZ, and today I'm going to be doing some stuff with both businesses. I've got a meeting coming up with a lead for ABC, and I've got a coffee date coming up with one of my contacts from the XYZ company here. So at a glance, this lets me know what I need to do for each business and whether I'm spending my day more focused on one than the other. Another benefit of this is that when I go to the workspace of my CRM, this is the main dashboard of your software here, I will see that the left-hand side, this little overview of how my day is going to be, is also going to be segmented out by this calendar. Especially important, in my opinion, is that the tasks now will let you know what you have to do for each of those businesses for today. I can see I've got 2 tasks due today for ABC business and 1 task due for XYZ business. It lets me stay focused, it lets me make sure that none of my leads are slipping through the cracks here. To create these calendars for yourself, you just want to do so through your calendar settings page. So that again is through settings on the blue header bar, view all settings options, and calendar settings in the 3rd row down, the 2nd option in. You can create as many calendars as you want, and each of these calendars can be colored whatever you want it to be. You can also select different permission levels for these calendars if you have multiple users on the account. You can see there are 3 different types of permission levels. Full visibility allows everybody on your account to see and edit the calendar that you've put up. Limited sharing allows you to block off chunks of time on the calendar, but won't tell the other users what the name of the event is, so you can still keep that private, but your other users will know that this time should be blocked off. You can't schedule any other thing on during this time because you're busy. And private is completely private. No one can see that calendar. It's only visible to you, and you can set it up however you like. It's whatever organization you want. So this is just a couple of things to keep in mind. There are some different ways you can use your different calendars here. The color coding aspect is probably the most important thing for you guys. But you can imagine that the most basic structure that I can have with my multiple calendars is to have one for each of my business. Every calendar has its own color. Every business has its own calendar, so that I can easily segment them out. But some different setups that people might like here is, let's say you work in an industry where you have service dates or order delivery dates, and you want to keep track of these dates here. You can have an order calendar to put in all the dates when someone has to put in an order or delivery has to be done. You can create a service calendar, and that calendar is only to track the services that you're offering. The only dates that you need to go out to a house showing, a tour, or something where you have to work with your leads in person. You can create a calendar specific to those. And another cute thing that you can do with your sub calendars here is you can also use that to track project timelines. If you work in consulting, you work more project based business, and you have timelines you need to manage. Some projects can take 3 months, some projects can take 2 months. Whatever that might be, you can just schedule that on a project calendar for yourself. You can create 2 project calendars, one for each business, and that just lets you keep it organized and separated out however you like. What some people like to do here too is they organize their calendars by color based on business. So all the calendars involved with ABC business is in one color. All the calendars involved with XYZ business is in another color. So this is a lot of information in one go. Let's kind of go through and talk about a scenario that you could encounter when you've got all of this set up in your CRM account. So back on my main CRM page here, let's say I've got a contact that's called in. Someone named John Smith just gave me a ring, and I want to pull him up in my CRM to know a little bit more about what I'm doing with him. What I'll just do is I'll just massively find a contact, search for John in my database here, John Smith, click on this name to get to his contact record. Immediately on his contact record, I know a couple of things. Based off his group tags and his pipeline badges, I can see that he's involved with both of my businesses. I can see his ABC and XYZ, and he's a lead for both of these businesses, but is in different statuses for them. He called in and he wants to talk more about hiring my ABC team to do some consulting work for him. So from this contact record, I can schedule a meeting for us on my ABC calendar. I'll just go up to the left side of that page, click on event on the top left corner, and I'm just going to say meeting with John. And let's say that's for later today at noon. And I can now say, because this is involving ABC business, I'm going to put it on my ABC calendar. It's not, we're talking about ABC stuff, not XYZ stuff. So I'm going to plug him in on my ABC calendar and save this event. And this lets me know I've got an upcoming meeting with John for later today, and we're just going to discuss some of our details about what my ABC team can do for him. And because, again, this is focused only on what I'm doing with John with ABC, I'll only update him in my ABC lead pipeline. I'll just click on the ABC lead pipeline badge, and I'm going to set up a new task here, a little note, and I'm going to say set up meeting. Whoops, not how you spell set up. Set up meeting to talk more about ABC consulting with his team. I'll just hit update this ABC lead, and you will now see that I've just updated his category, not his status, just update his information in this ABC pipeline, but not his XYZ. And the important part of this too is that because I have them separated out the same way I've got two reports, I will see that John has been updated in one pipeline, but not the other. So this means that if I'm at the end of the week, if I'm running through my reports and I want to see how my businesses are doing, I can pull up an ABC report and I'll see, okay, John's been updated there. But if I pull up my XYZ report, I'll see that John has not been updated there. So the next time I speak with him, I should also touch base with him on how things are going with regards to what I'm doing with him through XYZ. So it keeps him separated out in each category, even though it's the same person, I know I'm doing different things with him. So to summarize all of this, everything that we've talked about in this webinar here, a single CRM account can be used to manage multiple businesses by keeping your contact databases separate via groups and pipelines. And you can organize them for your users with our Teams feature just to keep them focused on what they need to look at. And the CRM can also let you track your follow-ups and your day-to-day interactions through multiple calendars. Essentially, this lets you stay on top of whatever you're doing in the software, regardless of what business it is, all in one place here. And of course, the added benefit is that if you're on a single account, you're just paying for a single account. You don't have to create separate CRM accounts, pay more money wherever you are. Just keep it all in one place. So, all right. I know that Michael and Alex have probably been answering a couple of questions as we went through this webinar here, but I want to squeeze in a few extra minutes for any other lingering questions that people may have. Just so you know, you will receive a replay of this webinar in an email after it ends. So don't worry if you think you've missed anything, you can always watch it again. But take some time now. Let me know in the chat section of questions panel if you're unsure about anything, if you have a question about a feature I talked about, or if there's something you're curious to know about the CRM that I haven't yet mentioned, something that you've been working on in the software but you haven't found a way to kind of figure that out in the system. I'm happy to demo anything else. So just go ahead and let me know. But of course, if you don't have any questions, that's perfectly fine as well. I'm going to leave you guys with our contact details so that if you do have questions later on, you want to set up a one-on-one meeting, you want to set up a little call to talk through anything, you can just reach out to us at help@lessannoyingcrm.com or call us directly at 877-666-6467. And before I let you guys all go here, just one very small thing left. We're a small business just like you, and we're always looking to improve. Our webinar has lots of room to grow, so we'd love to get some feedback from you. Whether you loved it, you hated it, you learned a lot, you learned nothing, let us know. We want to make sure that these webinars are useful for you. I'm going to post a link in the chat now to a feedback form, and we'd be so grateful if you could just let us know what you thought of this webinar here. All right. Thank you guys again so much for joining us today. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Friday and weekend, and we hope to talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye.